and welcome. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce Sandeep Parikh, a young man who was born and raised in New Hampshire. After completing a degree in computer science and having a career in computer science, he later decided to pivot and move into the area of entertainment. He is a multidisciplinary entertainer and filmmaker. As an actor, he has appeared in popular shows like The Guild, New Girl, Californication, and Community. He is also writer and director of several digital series, including the award-winning interactive comedy That Moment When, Comedy Central's The Legend of Neil, and most recently, the interactive comedy Wizard School Dropout. He wrote on and voice acted on glitch text for Netflix and Nickelodeon. He is founder and chief creative officer of diversity-focused comedy house Effin Funny. And currently, he is promoting a new series called Desiquest. Welcome to Lokvani, Sandeep. Namaste.
Namaste ji. Yeah, thank you, Ranjani auntie. So good to talk to you. Thanks for that wonderful intro. You really got everything perfect.
Well, you are quite something, Sandeep, to have started out as a computer scientist and then moved on into entertainment, and very unique, very unusual entertainment. And I'm going to ask you to explain interactive comedy in just a few minutes. But before that, I would love for you to talk about Desiquest and what it's all about, and why should people support it and how they can support it.
You know, you mentioned pivoting, and what I've realized, now you called me a young man, which I'll graciously accept that. But in my older age, now some 20 years out of college, I continue to pivot. And I was born and raised in New Hampshire, and most of my cultural touch points were through my parents. And as you sort of succumb to the lifestyle of being in the US, all you see is American comedies and American entertainment. But now I really want to pivot towards doing things that really reach back to my culture, and build that bridge. I'm going to use that phrase a lot. I want to build the bridge back to the culture, because I think I represent a lot of people in the diaspora who were, first generation, born from immigrant parents, have only, say, visited India, say 4 or 5 times, that kind of thing, and have what I'd say a more tangential relationship to our culture, and wish to have a greater one. Now that I have a son, I realize it's incumbent upon me to be the one to pass down any sort of culture. It's going to come through me primarily. I mean, yes, the grandparents are there and Dada are there to help a little bit, but I'm going to be the one that's really going to be closest to him. So I feel like I want to take this next step in my career to build that bridge from being American born, some say confused Desi, to reaching back into my roots and finding a way for other folks that are like me to connect to our roots in a more accessible way, whether that's through comedy or through action adventure. Everybody loves storytelling, and we don't see enough of ourselves in shows, especially out here in the US, in Hollywood. And so I want to be a part of changing that narrative and that culture. So Desiquest is really born from that mission. Desiquest is actually a Dungeons and Dragons based show. Wow. So for those that are not familiar, okay, there's going to be a feature film. There's going to be a big movie coming out with Chris Pine and all these, Michelle Rodriguez. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. This started out as what's called a tabletop role-playing game. So it's essentially a game that people play around a table together in their basements or on their porches or wherever. And it's a game that they essentially improvise together. They're improvising a big story together, a grand story. Now, mostly these stories took place in Eurocentric universes, okay? Which is fine. That's where the creators, that's what they, that's what they experience. That's what they are used to. So they built their entire fantasy universes based on mythologies that are from Europe, you know, Norse mythology or Greek mythology. They sort of pulled from all those sources, English and British mythology, and they created a whole universe and this whole game. And now there's a phenomenon nowadays where people are filming people playing that game, and it's become very popular on YouTube and Twitch and things like that. And it's a really popular form of entertainment. It's really fun to watch great performers dream up these stories together, and and there's a lot of interactive elements sometimes where the audience can participate and sort of affect the narrative. It's a really cool experience. But the most popular show is called Critical Role, and they now have a show on Amazon, an animated series called Vox Machina, and it's a really awesome show.
Yeah.
And this is all well and good. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of South Asian representation in this universe. And so I want to change that. So I found now a good friend in Jasmine Buller. She's she was born and raised in Canada, or born in Canada, moved back to India,
Wow.
and then did all of her schooling in India, grade schooling, and then came back to the US and now lives in Seattle. But she's this incredible, what they call a dungeon master. So she basically is the orchestrator, the MC of the entire experience. And she's been doing this on these successful shows as a guest star. But her dream was, I want to run a table of all South Asians. And she told me that during one meeting. And I said, how can I help? How can I be in service to this vision? This is awesome. I want to be a part of it in any way, shape, or form. I want to help you produce it and, you know, elevate you as she's an amazing comedic talent. She's an amazing storyteller, you know, and dramatist. And so I wanted to support that. And so we got together, we started pounding the pavement right away. We got two incredible cast members, Anjali Bhimani and Rekha Shankar, who are also, you know, mostly US based, but, you know, have their roots in India, and they're on successful shows. Rekha is doing a show on NBC. Anjali was in Marvel. She's in Miss Marvel, which is, you know, a show on Disney Plus. And so they've had success here, but they were all very excited to sort of join the mission of, let's have an all South Asian table and let's build a universe that's based in South Asian mythology.
Wow.
And so that we felt like was a way that we could access and connect back to our roots in a way that hopefully we can draw others to do the same, pave the road, build that bridge, so that others that were in the diaspora who maybe feel a little disconnected could also connect back.
Sure. Wow. I mean, I'm really impressed because I think this has been, you know, challenge for everybody as to how do you connect, you know, people who, especially like, you know, your children who don't have, you know, a parent who grew up in India, who is, you know, trying to bring up the culture in the way that, you know, we learned about it. So to do it in a way that is new agey, or, you know, in a way that makes sense to your children or this group. So use Dungeons and Dragons as the methodology here. I think that's really fantastic. So excited to see this. And of course now you are actually crowdsourcing funding for this. And is that the way? I don't know how things happen in Hollywood or how these shows kind of thing happen. So tell us a little bit about why crowdsourcing and why should people support you in this endeavor?
Yeah, well, you know, crowdsourcing was really, for us, of course, you know, we need funding to make this happen. We're going to need minimum $80,000 to do at least 5 episodes of the show. We're hoping to raise closer to $300,000. That's our main goal. And there's stretch goals all along the way. But the beauty of crowdfunding, okay, is not just, hey, this is a way to get money. It's actually a way to build your community and find who the people that are out there that feel as moved as we feel like this is as necessary as we feel it's as necessary, and get them and you know, sort of put the bat signal out, as I like to say. If you're a Batman fan, he always puts a signal up to the sky to when he's needed. And so that's what we're doing for the rest of our community, saying, hey, we need your help to make this, and we want to make it our way. That's the other thing, is that we have actually gone the traditional route and pitched it around town, and we had a few offers, a few bites, people that were definitely interested. Jasmine has a following of over 100,000 people on Twitch, and I've been in shows. We all have followings, and so there was the opportunity to fund it the traditional way, but with that comes a lot of strings attached,
Yeah.
and namely creative control.
Yeah.
And then you have people that are not South Asian telling us how to build a South Asian universe or the ways in which it best suits their audience. And we said, you know what? We don't want that for this project.
Yeah.
We want to do it authentically in our voice. And the best way to do that was to drum up the money ourselves, to find the financing ourselves. And the best way to do that is to be supported by the very community that is
Yeah.
wants to engage with this material. And so we felt like this was the only way that we wanted to do this. It was a difficult decision. I'd never done it this way before. There's a piece of you that feels like, oh, are we just kind of out there begging for money or something like, so there is that feeling. There's like a bit of, is this a shameful act? But then what I realized, no, actually what we're already hearing, we haven't even started the fundraiser yet. The fundraiser starts on September 6th. That's when
Yeah.
actually the Kickstarter goes live.
Yeah.
And we're already hearing from so many people, not just Indians, actually, not just South Asians,
Yeah.
that I am excited to be a part of this. I'm excited to, sort of put my money where my mouth is. I believe that in diversity, I believe that this culture should be showcased, and I wanna support you. And there's no better feeling than that, really, to know that there's a whole community behind you that extends far beyond, just the people that you know. And so that's what we're noticing already. And that's what I expect we'll find when we actually launch the Kickstarter. So that was
That,
really the impetus
that's
behind it.
really fantastic. And that's a very, very important point for people to know. By the way, they can go to the Kickstarter. We have the URL on this video. They can go and actually donate there. But I think it is important to know it's like a democratic way of doing things rather than having one person decide how this show should go. So I really, I think it's very, very interesting that you who have had a lot of success, gaining funds from the traditional sources and running shows like that, you have now, kind of pivoted to doing it in this way so that, the South Asian story can be told in the way that it should be told. And so I think that's
Yeah.
really exciting, and more power to you. It's an experiment, I think. So it's not about begging, it's really about creating a new model. And I think if this succeeds, this might be the way that people can start, telling their stories in the way they want. And so you're doing more than just, I think, creating a story, but also a
I
methodology to
think
create that story.
100%. And I think that is the fear-based thinking that comes in your brain that says,
Yeah.
oh, is this shameful? No, the love-based thinking is actually, no. We're finding the very people that are going to be most affected by this. And then we're affording them the opportunity to be a part of it at a very early stage. So that's the thing, is that there's all these rewards in there that will give you more and more access to the community. So if you contribute at different levels, there's ways in which you can engage with the cast, engage with the creators, and sort of let us know what you love about it. How can we shape this more to tell, what you see in the world, what's your part of the story? And then, I'll just say this too, there's a bunch of small business owners out there that we know that are South Asian business owners, okay, that can use promotion, that want to access this community too. And we have tiers in there where we could team up with you. You can sponsor us at a certain level. And whether, say, you're a snack food company or something like that, that really wants to speak to this community specifically, there's ways that you can do that and also help us create the show. So
Beautiful.
I agree. We're really trying to find that new model
Yeah.
to make content, because I'll tell you, I've been in this business, Ranjani, I've been in this business for 20 years, okay? And when you go the route of taking money from the big networks, inevitably there are so many gatekeepers, so many people that have to say yes, and their interests are
Yeah.
not necessarily aligned with yours. Okay,
Yeah.
they're just not, and it's not their fault. That's how they have to function too.
Right.
They have to watch out for their jobs. I understand where they're coming from. Okay, and I'm sympathetic to that, and we tend to kind of work it out. But there is, there's a lot of pain points. There's a lot of ways in which you have to sacrifice or diminish the creative vision when you do that way. And this way, we don't have to do any of that.
Surely. I mean, I think it's like the social media versus newspaper, right? So where you get to tell your story the way you want, and I think
Right.
that's a great model that you're working. And I'm assuming there have been people who have been successful in doing this in other areas, doing Kickstart funding and then
Oh yeah,
having shows. And
we're
yeah, are there models that you looked up or people that you look up to in this space?
100%. I mean, we did a lot of research. There's been many successful. I think they've raised billions of dollars at this point for projects like ours. We feel like we are suited perfectly for this. You
Yeah.
know, the team that we've put together is phenomenal. Like I said, the cast is the I mean, I don't think you can find more a more perfect cast in terms of experience making this type of content.
Yeah.
You know, these are the sharpest minds doing this, and you know, but in their own way, we have not been elevated by the traditional system, and this is our chance to show our power as South Asians. That said, hey, we want to elevate these voices. And so that's my mission in
Yeah.
this. You know, that's been my pivot. Is like, I know this cast is so talented and they have not gotten the shot they deserve, and I want to help give them the shot they deserve.
Yeah.
And also the production crew behind this. You know, we've got, like I said, 20 years of experience
Yeah.
producing stuff like this. So we make sure every dollar that we get turns into $5 in terms of what it looks like on the screen, and our track
Fantastic.
record supports that. So
Fantastic. And good
yeah.
to know there are sponsorship opportunities as well. So hopefully somebody can, contact you. And if there is a different way of for businesses to, get their sponsorship there, that would be great as well. That is exciting. I look forward to, seeing how this show evolves. And but I also wanted to ask you, what is interactive comedy? For those of us who are a little bit
Sure.
not there, so could you tell us a little bit
Sure.
about what this interactivity in entertainment is all about?
Yeah, well, you know, I think as we sort of moved into this cell phone age of of our existence now, where we have these things that I'm literally holding right now
Yeah.
to communicate to you, we're now used to sort of playing with our food a little bit, so to speak. We and then, video games have been around since I was a young child,
Yeah.
and so that was, that's your first form really of traditional interactive entertainment. Um, and it's evolving now as technology evolves, as we get better bandwidth. Now there's more immediacy. You can really react to things that your audience is asking for live with very low latency, with very little delay. That's what Twitch is all about. So there's like, you can see the technology is really driving different ways of storytelling. I mean, in the end, right, what we all want when we tell a story or hear a story is to be transported.
Yeah.
When you listen to the Ramayana, right, or some great telling of that, some Murari Bapu Katha or something like that, that really, he is transporting you into the story. That's
Yes.
what you feel like you are there, right?
Yeah.
You're with Lakshman and you are, battling Ravan. Like, you feel like you're in, like, the best storytellers do that. And so all interactivity is sort of allowing for is, a more enhanced experience where you feel like you actually have agency, that you can control things, you can shape how the narrative is changing. You feel like you're in the story. And so
Mm.
when so for the show that you had mentioned, That Moment When and Wizard School Dropout, these
Yeah.
were two interactive shows that we created. I used my computer science background and the
Yeah.
other half of my brain, the creative brain, to do the storytelling piece. But those are essentially, it's like you're watching a regular show, but then choices will come up on the screen, and the narrative will branch based upon the choices you make.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Fantastic.
say you have Lakshman's bow, and you have to decide, who are you going to shoot, like which demon are you going to take down, or you're going to talk to the demon instead and see if you can you can convince him. So you can make this choice, and the story will actually take off from there and will
Wow.
change and adapt based upon the choices that you make. It's called choice
Wow.
driven narrative content, like choose your own adventure. And there's been versions of this in books and stuff like that, but now with technology being what it is, you can now do it in video in real time, and the story can flow like you're watching a regular movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
It's really
and
cool.
you kind of you can understand the choices that Lakshman made based on that moment, and you can say, oh, maybe he could have done it differently, right? So that
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah,
maybe,
and I
right?
think the one I urge folks in this community to check out is Wizard School Dropout specifically. It was important to me to
Yeah.
have an Indian female as the lead. I wanted my nieces to be able to watch this show and say I could be a wizard too.
Uh,
And so we cast Kosha Patel. She's phenomenal in it. And I think people will really enjoy that experience of you actually play from the perspective of her magic.
yeah.
So you decide how she utilizes her magic throughout the experience. Pretty cool.
Wow. I mean, I think one thing I will say, Sandeep, like I think most Indians, one thing everybody shares, whatever the community is, Bollywood or movies in general. So I think
Yes,
the entertainment world is fascinating to all Indians, and
that's
to
right.
be able to have a path to be part of that, I think there's nothing more exciting than that. And so actually, that's maybe a final question I'll have for you, Sandeep, is that there are many young people who want to become entertainers. I think you probably did too. And then, of course, dad told you to become a computer scientist, and you did well at that. I mean, this is what most Indian parents are saying, become a doctor or an engineer or a computer scientist or a finance person. But many want to be entertainers or be part of that. So, what advice would you have for them?
So here's my advice. This is actually from one of my what I call my gurus. Okay, Elizabeth Gilbert. Okay, she's the writer of Eat, Pray, Love. Your vocation, the thing that you do to make money, does not have to be the same as your calling, as your artistic calling. Okay, those can be separate endeavors, and that's okay. Um, so before you feel like you have to torture yourself to become a starving artist, in order to create good art, push that idea aside. Accept that you are an artist, you are a storyteller. We all are in some form or another. We're all comedians, we're all producers, we're all moved by the arts. So you can now dig a little deeper and be a creative. Okay, it does not. You can still be an engineer and a doctor and a computer science. That is okay. It does not have to be one or the other.
Beautiful.
Okay, so my feeling is, but make sure you never stop pursuing your calling, even if it's something that's not bringing you money. In fact, remove the money element and just make sure, if you are compelled to be a writer, that you write. If you're compelled to be a painter, that you paint. That the point is that you're expressing your art, you're expressing your emotion, you're expressing your experience, your lived experience out to the rest of the world, because we need to hear your stories. Storytelling is the most important job in the world. Okay, people will say, no, wait, no, what are you talking about? It should be being a ER doctor or being a, all those things are important in their own way, but stories move nations.
Yeah.
Stories build societies. Okay, the whole concept of democracy is a story that we've told ourselves,
Yeah.
that hey, we can all chip in, we can all be represented. That's a story that we have to believe in, we have to push, that we have to consistently sell and consistently say out loud for the collective to believe in that, so that we can build a society, right? So as this world, okay, right now, I think we're all sitting here and we've gone through some tough times
Yeah.
recently. Really, really hard times. And it's not getting any easier necessarily, okay? We're getting through this pandemic piece, but we can see there's a lot of division in this world. There's a lot of people saying, hey, these other people are the cause for our problems, and we should make sure these other people suffer the consequences for being the cause of our problems. When in reality, it's our unity that's gonna solve our problems. It's us seeing the humanity in each other that's going to bring us together, so that we can make a better world for our Kirans. That's my son. A better world for our, and the way we do that is through telling better stories. Gandhiji told a better story. He defeated this idea of colonialism through the story that he sent out into the world, that nonviolence is more powerful than violence. That's the story that he told us, and he shaped a world with that. Martin Luther King told a story. So even if your storytelling is frivolous right now, or you feel like it's just, I want to do comedy, blah blah, that's fine. That's totally fine. Just get in the art and the practice of continuing to tell better stories that unify us. Forget about the money piece.
Yes.
Tell the story. That's it.
Beautiful, Sandeep. The thing I was thinking about as you were talking is actually at the end of the day, when all of us leave, it's only the stories that remain. The rest of it is
That's right.
gone,
That's
So
right.
I
That's
think
what's passed down.
that's
That's
it.
what's
Yes.
passed down.
Yes.
I went to
Rama
the
is not there, but the story of Rama is alive,
That's right.
today.
That's right. And
Today,
that's what
that's
lives. The
all.
best stories, they live on and on. I remember I went to the Ajanta Ellora caves, and I
Yes.
was so moved by seeing the Ramayana carved into that ancient monolithic temple. And you're just
Right.
like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm connected to these people from thousands and thousands of years ago. I mean, so this is what Desiquest is all about. Help us tell today's stories. Help us evolve these stories so we can be inclusive
Yeah.
of the Indians that are across the world,
Yeah.
and the Pakistanis that are across the world, and the Bangladeshis, and like everybody. We got to remember that we have more in common than we have different, and so we've got to tell the common stories that unite us on the values that we care about, the values of love and friendship and family and cooperation. So this is really in support of that. So please, I'll leave with this.
Surely.
Last thing is, please support us in doing that. This is our mission. We want to increase empathy. We want to tell our stories. And you right now, you watching this, have the power to help us do that by clicking that link and hopping over and saying, yeah, I want to be a part of this.
Fantastic. I really hope all of our Lokvani viewers who are watching this, know how important this work is that you are doing. And in fact, some of the stories that in New England were written by your father, Sandeep Parikh ji, who was a really, crafted so much of what happened in New England. So here is to the next generation of that movement of making South Asians as a very important part and their stories as a very important part of this nation. So thank you for doing that. And I look forward to seeing how Desiquest evolves. Thank you for your time, Sandeep.
Thank you, Auntie.
Namaste.
Thank you, Ranjani Auntie. Namaste.